Hello and welcome. In this video I'm going to complete a series of tasks about BGP on OcNOS devices. Let's take a look at the tasks first, and after that I'm going to show you the topology, and then we are going to start doing the configuration. The first part of the task says configure basic IGP for AS200. Now IGP of course is pre-configured in the lab, but why do I have it here? Because I want to show you some considerations when I do the configuration. Specifically, the thing is I don't really want to advertise the networks which are connected to external autonomous systems, and for that I need to do some other I need to have some other approach, and I'm going to show you what. Next one says configure ibgp for AS200. Now if you just configure two BGP speakers with the same autonomous system number, then these two are going to be configured the ibgp neighbor. There are some rules about ibgp neighbors. I'm going to show you some of them, and I'm going to speak about the rest of them. It says that you should use loopback interfaces to form IBGP sessions. The reason for that is I have multiple paths to get to the destination, and using loopback interface is going to make sure that in case one of the paths to my BGP neighbor fails for some reason, the other is going to be there to keep the TCP connection up and running. Next one says that disable default BGP IPv4 unicast. Now this is here because I just want to show you the contrast with some other platforms. Because on OcNOS by default this is already done. You don't have any of the address families as active. On some other platforms, IPv4 address family is the one which is active and running. And so here this should be already done. The last one says enable IPv4 and IPv6 address families for neighbors. There are some differences between using IPv6 address to create the adjacency or IPv4 address to create the adjacency, which I'm going to explore them for you. And finally it says that use network command to advertise the loopback network into a BGP table. Now there are two different ways to advertise some of the routes which are already in routing table into BGP table. And when it says loopback network, it doesn't really mean the interface itself. Network command in BGP is very different from network command in IGP. In IGP, when you use network command, you mean that this interface should be part of the IGP process, should create adjacencies, should send and receive hello messages. Here network says try to find what I am giving you from the routing table and then put it into BGP table and then give it a tag of IGP. You can use redistribute command to do the same thing, but redistribute command is going to give it a tag of unknown, which means that when you do some best path selection for BGP, which we are going to cover in detail, and I'm going to use different parts of the lab for that purpose to show you how we can just engineer our traffic inbound and outbound inside our AS. So I'm going to show you that network, whatever route that we have advertised using network, is going to take precedence over the routes that we have advertised using redistribute command. Okay, now that we have this, let's take a look at the topology. In my topology there are different parts, different autonomous systems. For now AS200 is going to be of more interest for us, so I'm going to zoom into this a little bit. You can see that my routers are connected using different connections. Between some of the routers there is no connection, but that is not going to stop us from creating a full mesh adjacency. In my case, of course, I'm not going to create a full mesh adjacency. What I'm trying to do here is to create a connection between router 8 and 10, router 8 and 11, 9 and 11, and 9 and 10. So there is not going to be any adjacency between 8 and 9 or between 10 and 11. And I'm doing this deliberately. Later you will know why. So let's start doing the configuration. First of all, I'm going to show you the configuration of IGP, and in that you can see that Ethernet 2, which is not part of which is connecting to an external autonomous system, is not part of IGP. So on R8, I'm going to say show run router OSPF. And you can see that in this, I have just assigned a router ID, and the networks are here, but the interface E2 address is not part of this. Now, if I just say show IP OSPF neighbor, you can see that I have adjacencies with 10 and 11. That is exactly what I really want to have. And if I say show IP route, you can see that I have my adjacency here, and my routing table is populated with different paths, and I can just get to different parts of the network. For example, I can get to router 9, router 11, and of course router 10 should be here. If it is not, I will check to see what the problem might be. But let's see. Show IP OSPF neighbor. It says that I am in adjacency with router 8. If I say show run router OSPF, it says that neighbor, the network is not advertised correctly. So this is part of the troubleshooting that we want to do it right now. So if I just go to router OSPF 1, I can say no this one, but instead I'm going to say network is going to be 10 10 10 10 0 0 0 0 and area 0, and I'm going to say commit. So with this, if I go back to router 8, you can see that 10 10 10 10 is advertising to here as well. So my IGP is done. Let's start the ibgp connection per what we had in our tasks. So what I'm going to do on router 8 is I need to go to configuration mode, and then I'm going to say router BGP. The autonomous system number was 200. I'm going to do this. Now, you can add a BGP router ID, or you can just skip it. I'm going to add a BGP router ID. The reason is router ID is going to be selected based on an IP address set on loopback interface. I'm going to add multiple addresses to my loopback interface. So I'm going to select one of them, specifically 8888, and I'm going to add it here. Now, this one is a very important consideration, because when I want to use an update source for my BGP adjacency, loopback, if loopback is selected for my update source, then I am going to just specify that one of the IP addresses of the loopbacks should be used in here, in case I have multiple addresses assigned to that. For now, if I say do show run interface loopback, you can see that there is only one secondary IP address assigned to this. The primary address, of course, is not going to be used. This is just for internal use, but whatever address that I'm going to assign is going to be a secondary IP address. So if I just say interface loopback, and I could say IP address is going to be 888, let's say 81/32, and secondary, hit enter. This is going to be like another IP address for this. So be very careful about what you are doing when you select the source for your adjacency with your BGP speaker. So I'm going to say router BGP 200 one more time. Now, what I'm going to say is use the neighbor command. Neighbor command is going to create the adjacency here. And the IP address of the neighbor, I'm using loopback interface per task requirement. So my neighbor is going to be 10 10 10 10. This is the loopback address of the destination. And I should assign remote AS, and I should say that this is in the same AS that I am in. Now, I'm using loopback interface to connect to that. So I should say that to this neighbor, I'm using my loopback interface. But like I said, because I have multiple addresses assigned to that, I would say my update source is 8888. Instead of typing loopback, I should say 8888. This is very important. Okay, the next neighbor is going to be 11 11 11 11. And the remote AS is going to be in 200. And also this neighbor is going to have my update source of 8888. And hit enter. Okay. like I said, address family IPv4 unicast is not enabled by default. I have to enable it. So for that, I would say address family IPv4 unicast. Under this, I'm going to say neighbor 10, 10, 10, 10, activate, and also neighbor 11, 11, 11, 11, activate. So with this, my neighbors are activated. Okay, so for now, I have not committed the configuration. I'm going to, but one of the tasks part says that advertise loopback network on this router using loopback command. So let's do that as well. I should do this under address family. So I'm going to say network, and the network for loopback, which I am going to advertise, is going to be 8888, and also I'm going to advertise 88881. So I'm going to say network is this one, and also network is going to be this one. So I'm advertising both of them into my BGP table. Now later you will see that because this one is already in IGP, I'm going to receive some kind of, not error, but just a message that says this is already in your IGP. You don't really have to advertise this into BGP at the same time, for IBGP of course. Okay, so let's say that I'm committing the configuration and saving the configuration. If I say do show IP BGP summary and hit enter, for now it will say that this has never been up, but it is active. This means that this is trying to reach to the other side. So let's just say something. I'm going to say terminal width is something like 256. And of course I should say end for this and then do this command, because in configuration mode you would not see that. Now if I just go back to here and execute this command, show IP BGP summary, you can see that this now shows in just one line without any problem. This is not part of the command, of course. This is just to set the terminal width. Okay, now the first part is done. I'm going to do the same thing on router 9, but because router 9's configuration is very similar to router 8, I can just do some copying and pasting. So let's say that I'm going to say show run router BGP, hit enter. I'm going to just select this, use notepad and paste it here, but change a little bit. My ID is going to be 9999 because this is router 9. Neighbors are like this, and of course the update source should be selected as 9999. The same thing here, and the network which I'm advertising is going to be 9999. This one of course is not there, so I'm not going to do anything about that. These two neighbors should be activated and everything seems to be good. So let's go to router 9 and do this here, OcNOS, and I'm going to say terminal of course, width is going to be 256 here. En configure terminal, and I'm going to paste this right here, and I would say commit and do WR for now. And for now there is no adjacency because router 8 and 9 are not going to be adjacent with each other. Router 10 is going to be there. So let's do the configuration for router 10. I'm going to do the same thing what I did here. I'm going to just change the configuration a little bit here. So here what I'm going to do is say this is router 10, so I'm going to use router 10 as my update source. The first neighbor is 8888. The second neighbor is 9999. So 8888 is going to have this update source, and 9999 of course is going to have this update source. And Here, the network which I'm going to advertise is going to be 10, 10, 10, 10. This neighbor should be activated. And this neighbor should be activated. So take a look at the configuration before continuing. And then I'm going to copy and paste it on router 10. And commit the configuration. And also in the end, save all the configuration. Router 11 is very similar to this. So I'm going to just make some base little adjustments. So this is my router ID, and this is going to be my update source as well. Neighbors are the same, activations are the same. The network which I am advertising is this one. Okay, so I'm going to go to router 11, login, terminal width, I'm just going to increase it to 256. And configure terminal and paste the configuration here. Commit and do WR. Okay, let's check the adjacencies for now. I'm going to say do show IP BGP summary. And now you can see that I have router 8 and 9 as my neighbors. On router 10, the same thing is correct. This means that all the adjacencies are up and running without any problem. I don't really have to check this on router 8 and 9. The other thing which I'm going to check is show IP BGP, which is going to show me the BGP table. Now you can see that I have these routes here. When it says 0000 as the next hop, it means me. I have advertised 8888 and 88881. I have received 10, 10, 10, 10. I have received 11, 11, 11, 11. I should be receiving 9999 as well. So let's go back to router 9 and see what we have. We have advertised this network. So this should be in router 8's BGP table after some time. Is it on router 10's BGP table? If I say show IP BGP, it says that yes, I have received it. So why router 8 is not receiving this? We are going to check it later, but you should know that this is based on IBGP rules that says I am not sending you any routes that I have received from my IBGP neighbor in case you are my IBGP neighbor. So from IBGP to IBGP, I'm not going to advertise anything. From IBGP to eBGP, I am doing it. From eBGP to IBGP, I'm doing it. But from IBGP to IBGP, this is not going to happen. So I'm not going to do this thing. So for IPv6 address family, I'm going to do this in the next part of the video because this is getting too long and I'm going to continue it in another video. So I hope this has been informative for you and see you in next video.